Assalamu alaikum. It's great to see you guys here. Thank you for joining us for the Health Podcast. Cool. So to start off with, Sister Gazallah, could I please ask you to introduce yourself and let us know about what you do?
Absolutely, yes. So my name's Gazallah Choudhri and I work for an organisation called BHA for Equality, who are managing the project which is called Answer Cancer. So Answer Cancer is the Greater Manchester Cancer Screening Programme, and the aim of the project is to basically work with disadvantaged communities and to try to raise awareness about cancer screening, so in turn to increase the uptake of cancer screening across Greater Manchester.
Okay, and Sister Faiza, could you quickly introduce yourself and let us know what it is that you do?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Faiza Choudhri. We're not related, by the way. And I work for MFT, the NHS, and my role is Cancer Screening Improvement Lead for breast screening for the whole of Greater Manchester. I also work alongside Gazallah at the Answer Cancer Programme as an engagement lead as well. So I do a bit of community work and a little bit of strategic work as well.
Yeah, amazing. Right, so this episode is going to be focused on breast cancer today. Before we go into that, I wanted to learn a bit more about the organisation and about the other things that you guys do. So could you tell me what's the most surprising or shocking fact about cancer in general that most people don't know about but they should?
Okay, so I think for us, I think it would be that breast cancer is the biggest cancer for women in the UK, and one person is diagnosed every 10 minutes in the UK for breast cancer, and that's from the Breast Cancer Now website. So they're kind of really big stats for us to understand, and I don't think we talk about it enough, and I think we need to raise awareness around it within not just the Muslim community, but all communities around how important it is for us to be aware of early detection so we can catch it early.
Amazing. And speaking on early detection, can you share a powerful success story where someone's life was changed thanks to early cancer detection or prevention through your work?
Yeah, of course. So as my role working for the Answer Cancer Programme as an engagement lead, I ran a session in one of the local areas, raised awareness around, the signs and symptoms, and everyone knows about the lump. I mean, the lump is something that everyone talks about, and we know if you found a lump, it could be cancerous, go and see a GP. So we talked about all different things that we can look at, and one of those is like a little dip. So if you have a little dip in your breast, that could be a sign of cancer. And a young lady around in her age 30s at the end of the session came up to me and she said, "Oh, I didn't know that was something that that was a sign of cancer." And she said, "What shall I do?" So I said, "Go and speak to your GP." And then obviously I left the session. And then about 9 months later, I was in the same area running a store. And this lady came running up to me, gave me a really big hug. She said, "You know what, you saved my life." I said, "But what do you mean?" She went, "I would have never known that could have been cancer." She said, "I went to the GP, the GP set me through the two-way pathway to cancer." She goes, "I got diagnosed, and alhamdulillah," she said, "it was stage 1. And she goes, and I've got treated, and look, I'm here now." And she goes, "That's because of your session." She goes, "Otherwise, I would have never realised." So they're the kind of things that I think as Answer Cancer that we make really big impacts. And I don't think any other organisation makes such a big impact.
And I think sort of that's the beauty of the Answer Cancer Programme, which is basically reaching out to local communities and raising awareness, not just about the importance of cancer screening, but actually talking about the signs and symptoms associated. So it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month this month in October, and hence why we're here today to try and again raise that awareness about breast cancer screening. So as Faiza was talking about some of the signs and symptoms, often we know about the lump, but there are other signs and symptoms as well which people should be aware of. So you've got your lump, you've got any sort of indentation in the breast, any sort of discharge, unusual discharge, any colour change in the skin. So the advice really is that women should be checking their breasts regularly. Every 4 to 6 weeks, I think, is the recommendation, isn't it? And if you do spot something, the idea is to contact your GP and get it checked out. Don't self-diagnose, don't wait. You're not going to look silly if you go to your GP, and we understand that it's not easy getting GP appointments, but what we always say is that be persistent. Ring at 8:30 in the morning if you have to get that appointment, but do get yourself checked out. It's so important, and because that potentially could save your life.
And I think just going on to that as well, it's the fact that when you're checking yourselves regularly, it's that early detection. So if you're checking yourself regularly, you know that there's a change. So then when you go to the GP, you can say, well, actually it was like this and now it's like this. But otherwise, if you go to the GP and you're like, I'm unsure, they're unsure, so they'll be like, oh, let's try this, or it could be this. But if you're very clear about how you've got that change, they will put you on that pathway. So it's really important that we check ourselves. And you're saying we check ourselves at least once a month, and we always say check yourself after your period, not before your period, just because obviously that area becomes quite sore and lumpy and bumpy. But it's just being aware of, and then the other key thing is knowing what's normal for you, so you're not comparing yourself to somebody else. So what is normal for you, and if something's not normal, go and see your GP. And we do get, when we do the anti-cancer sessions, is we can't even get a GP's appointment. But the word cancer is very scary. The C word, you don't want to say it. And a lot of people in the community will say, if you say it, then you might, you're like, curse yourself, and you might just end up getting it. But when you ring the GP and you need an appointment, you can say, well, actually, I just want to alleviate the fact that I might have cancer, or, and once you've mentioned that word, they will give you an appointment that day or the day after. Then you won't have to wait 2-3 weeks, because obviously you've triggered that kind of word, and they have to kind of act on that.
So what's the most emotional or inspiring moment that you've experienced while working with Answer Cancer? Yes.
Okay, yeah. So to be fair, we get quite a lot of those moments, which can be quite emotional, because we work out in communities. We're talking about this very sensitive topic about cancer. So often people, when they come and see our stall, will just come forward because they've experienced cancer themselves, or they've lost family members to cancer. So there's a lot of emotional conversations that can begin. So I think, with our background in health, community health development, we understand showing that empathy towards people, and when we're having those conversations, to take that extra care. And also, we always know about sort of charities, etc., where if people want extra support, where we can sort of signpost them to that as well. So I think, generally speaking, we get lots and lots. So to pick one would be difficult for me right now. But at the same time, it's really humbling as well that people will come up to you and actually open up to you and share, their personal experiences as well. And then we get to hear a lot of really positive stories as well. And that is great to hear, because, you'll hear people that will say that, I found a lump, I had it checked out, and it turned out to be cancer, but because it was early stages, I got the treatment and I'm cancer free. And that's what we want to hear, and that's probably a lot of what we're trying to do is to get that early detection, because often enough, if we can detect cancers early, treatment is more likely to be successful.
Amazing. And Faiza, do you have any stories at all?
Yeah, so mine were very similar to that lady's story that was saying that we met, and I also did a session at just literally around the corner here again. It was like a residential care home. Older people didn't realise that they could can opt into screening, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. And the lady went and she got diagnosed with breast cancer, and then they sent it, she didn't know how to get in contact with me again, sent it through, her team that went straight to our managers. And it was just those stories that you hear, and you've really made a difference, and you've got people to think about things that they wouldn't normally think about. And again, as Gazallah said, when we're doing stalls or we're doing events, it's people just sharing their personal journeys with us. And I think for us to be in that position that they feel that they can share that with them, and that's an honour for us to be able to hear those stories and talk them through. And there's so many other charities out there, like Maggie's Trust at the moment. They've just developed a Muslim support group. The launch is tomorrow at Maggie's tomorrow, next to Christie's Hospital. but there's not much out there in terms of support for Muslim women, and because of the kind of work that we do, we feed that back into services, and then services are changing and adapting, and I think that is something that we feel quite passionate about.
Absolutely.
And we're really happy that we can be the voice of those communities into those services.
Yeah, I mean, Answer Cancer have produced like a Barriers to Health Inequalities report as well, from the 4 years of work that we've been doing as a programme. And there's lots of sort of recommendations to the commissioners on things that can be changed. So it's almost like a trajectory from us meeting people in the community, hearing what they've got to say, passing that information on, and hopefully trying to make services more equitable, more accessible for all communities. That's the aim, isn't it, with the work that we do, that nobody's left behind and at a disadvantage, really.